Today I'm coming to you from Iwate Prefecture, just catching up on my tourism a bit, and since I have a little bit of free time right now, I thought I'd make my latest video on the quintessential quintuplets. Perhaps my last one. So, where we last left off talking about the quintessential quintuplets, after Season 2, I threw my support behind Yotsuba, and that made me look like a genius because she was ultimately chosen in the movie. So what do I still have to talk about now? Well, after the movie, two new episodes came out that in timeline order would have taken place before the movie, and if those episodes had actually aired back then, I may have changed my mind about who I expected to be picked in the movie. So, first let's review my old scorecard of each of the girls and their chances of winning going into the final movie. I had Ichika at 5%, I'd say. She was the lowest of all the girls. She was actually my favorite for much of the series, and then she shot herself in the foot, so I could not see her recovering from that. I still wasn't willing to give her or anyone else a flat 0, but still, 5% was the highest I was willing to go for her. Nino. I had her at 10%. I didn't think she had a good chance of winning because, well, she's a tsundere. You know, I don't like tsunderes, and yeah, this is a show that's ultimately about who you're going to not just date, but actually marry. You cannot marry a tsundere. But the bigger problem isn't just that she's a tsundere, is that she was on her tsun side for the vast majority of the show. If she'd gone dere earlier, I thought maybe her chances would be higher, but if she's going to be that antagonistic with Futaro for most of Season 1 and 2, how can that suddenly turn into not just everyone get along with each other, but also her being the chosen one? Didn't see that happening, so 10%. So now on to the realistic contenders. Miku. I had her around 20%. I like Miku. I think she's the fan favorite. Lots of geeks and gamers can relate to her, right? But I had two issues with her. First of all, a lot of her character development was front-loaded. She got a lot of attention in Season 1, which makes you wonder if Futaro really liked her, why not just go for her then? Why wait for Season 2, let all the other girls have a chance to catch up, and then say, you know what, I like that girl from Season 1 a lot more, I'm going with her. It would have felt a little bit out of place. My other issue with Miku is that I think she and Futaro had the strongest student-teacher relationship, and that actually hurts them in a sense. I think it would have been the farthest thing from a 50-50 equal partners romantic relationship that I think would ultimately lead to, well, dating and marriage, right? So it's not impossible to overcome that, but I think they were the farthest from being in that position. Still, I like her just fine, 20%. Okay, Yotsuba. She was my dark horse candidate. I put her at 30%, which means Itsuki was at 35%, slightly higher, but here's my thoughts on Yotsuba. She was presented throughout the series as a very safe pick, someone with, I think, a high floor but a low ceiling. And you have to ask yourself, why was that the case? If you came to the conclusion that she was seen as someone who was just nice but inoffensive, someone with nothing really special going about her because that's how you felt after exploring her entire character, then I can see why you'd be disappointed that Futaro picked her. But I didn't really see it that way. I saw her as having by far the least character development among all the girls, which meant that one major development in the show could change that entirely, and also, if there was going to be another major development, there was a very good chance it was going to revolve around her. I thought the blank space in her character was kind of intentional by the author, for better or worse. I don't necessarily agree that they should have kind of ignored her for such a long time and then suddenly sprung on you that she was in fact Reina, but I wasn't even expecting that to be the case. I was expecting something more along the lines of maybe she'll save him from drowning or something like that, and that'll bring them closer together. I wasn't expecting the big bombshell that she would be Reina, but still, I thought that there was a good chance that something was going to happen to suddenly ingratiate herself towards all of us. And then finally, Itsuki. Itsuki I had at 35% simply because I thought, objectively speaking, she was the typical chosen one by anime standards, right? She was the first one to run into Futaro at school. She was the one with the most balanced character. You can't really describe her character type with just one phrase, like the cool big sister, or the tsundere, or the geek girl, or the sporty girl, right? This girl, she's partly tsundere, which is one of the reasons I'm actually against her, but she has a few things also going on. She got to know Futaro's family. She was really into teaching and education, despite being a bad student, which is something that she can kind of relate to Futaro, because that's where Futaro was several years back. I also suspected that she was, in fact, Reina, but I didn't have any concrete proof, so all signs seem to be pointing to her being the typical chosen one in anime. So just objectively speaking, I would have to put her in the lead at 35%, but I liked Yotsuba more, so I threw my support behind Yotsuba. Ultimately, of course, I was right, and I'm taking my victory lap right now, but here's the problem with the last 2 episodes that came out. They revealed earlier than I expected that Yotsuba was in fact Reina. That was the big bombshell, and I think in many people's view, that would have actually increased her chances. But I saw that as kind of the opposite. I thought, well, now we know what that big spoiler with her character is. There's nothing left for the very end of the show to push her over the edge. And also, the show seemed to be taking the angle that the past is in the past. It's time to move forward. Who are you going to move forward to? Probably Itsuki. So, yep. In that case, I'd probably, if I had seen that episode before the movie, I would have taken 10% away from Yotsuba. She would have been down to 20% with Miku, and that 10% would have gone to Itsuki. She would have been up to 45%, and I don't think at that point anyone could catch up with her. I wouldn't have been disappointed if Yotsuba, or for that matter, Miku had won, and in fact I would have preferred that, but if Itsuki had in fact won, that would have been the most predictable option, and I probably wouldn't complain.